What's up, guys? Revival GT here, and it is back. So, if you saw the last video, you saw a little part where I said, there's supposed to be a car on this side of the garage, and there was not. It's because this car was at the dealership. Apparently, what happened, the windshield was set a little bit too low from the factory, and it was actually allowing air to get inside, and yeah, so it didn't sound great. It sounded like radio static when you got up to about 50 miles an hour. It was really weird, but y'all know I'm a Ford guy. Didn't think I'd have a Mopar vehicle sitting in my garage, but here we are, and I'm gonna give you some thoughts on this coming from a Ford guy's perspective, right? So, my wife had a Veloster, okay? She had a Veloster Turbo, and I absolutely hated it. My wife was kind of okay with it, but overall, it got good fuel economy. It was kind of fun to, take around some curves or whatever, but overall, it was just, it just sucked. From a sports car perspective, it's not what I want. And my wife has been driving my car for a little bit, and she wanted something that was more similar to that. And this was our solution. So this is a 2019 Destroyer Gray RT Charger. And let me tell you guys, I actually love it. I like it a lot. It's not super fast, it's big, it's heavy. By the way, this dude, it barely fits in the garage. Like, this is a big ass car, okay? But it is big, it is lunky, it is kind of slow. These have 370 horsepower. I forget the torque numbers, but they're fun to drive. They are really, really fun to drive. They say driving a slow car fast is more fun than driving a fast car slow. Now, you can say that about the Veloster, but I'm not having very much fun with the little 1.6 liter. That's just not me. And if you have a Veloster, I'm not trying to super shit on them, but do better, man. They're cheap, they're easy to work on, but honestly, dude, I'd rather have a freaking Miata over a Veloster. And this is coming from a guy who likes V8 cars, big, loud, that's my thing. And I would literally, if we went back again, I bet you my wife would not buy that car. She wouldn't have done it. Dude, we had 50,000 miles on that car, and the freaking turbo went out. That's not okay. And it's a good thing Hyundai puts a 100,000 mile warranty on their cars, because that would have been a real big issue. But yeah, anyways, it got replaced under warranty, and it was okay. But driving experience, as far as this car goes, it is big, it is heavy, and you can feel it. But when you combine those two things together with a nice V8, it reminds me of almost like a Crown Vic. They're just big, they're kind of underpowered, but they're smooth. They glide, and this car does that exceptionally well. They come, at least this one, I don't know about all of them, they come with big 20-inch wheels, decent sized sidewall on there. I have 20s on my car, but my sidewalls are a lot smaller. And so this takes bumps and everything else really, really well. All right, guys. There it is. Buckle up. So, this thing is so smooth. So probably one of my favorite things about the infotainment system that they have in here, I've got to admit, it looks a lot better than Ford's. The Sync 3, I like the Sync 3 a lot, but as far as the graphics quality and everything else goes on this, this has definitely got it. you know, it looks cooler, you know, to me, you know, that's a personal thing, but just how smooth everything is on here. You know, I've had my Sync 3 kind of freeze up sometimes and mess up, and you know, this is a lot better. But let's now the backup camera's not as good. It's definitely not as good as the Ford, but it is what it is. You know, there's trade-offs with everything. So let's go ahead and give her a rip ski and see what happens. All right, so the rod quality is fantastic. The road that I'm on right now is not the best in the world. I don't know if you can see some of this stuff, but it handles it like a champ. I know these cars have independent rear suspension. That definitely helps a lot, you know. And also when it comes to modifying, like if you go to lower this car or something, you know, throw some lowering springs on it, all you gotta do is drop that rear subframe and you're set. You know, you're good to go. You know, drop it. It's normally like 4 bolts, I think. So you drop that, take springs out, put the new ones in, and bolt it right back up, and you're good to go. Now, power delivery, we're about to check that out. So one thing to realize, these cars weigh, I think, like 4,300 pounds or something. Like, they are not light in the slightest. But you know, I mean, 370 horsepower, that's really nothing to scoff at. You know, 20 years ago, it's hard to find a car that has, you know, 300. You know what I mean? So or at least from the factory. So it's really impressive. But you know, I compared it to the Crown Vic earlier, but you know, that's like a 225 or 250 horsepower car or something like this. So this definitely feels a lot better. It feels a lot sportier, and overall this car is very, very, very nice to drive around. Honestly, I almost like it more than my Mustang for certain situations. You know, I would take a road trip in this car and be super happy. It's fun, but it's still comfortable. You know, like, you know, my car would probably be more comfortable if, you know, the exhaust wasn't so freaking loud, or, you know, just certain other little nitpicky things like that. But, you know, overall, I mean, the seats in here, oh my God, they are big. If you are a hefty guy, these are hefty guy approved. Okay, like, I'm not a hefty guy, but these seats are big. You know, they can definitely hold. Ooh, what we got going on here? Oh man, it looked like smoke was coming out of that dude's car, but it was a glare. Anyway, yeah, I was going through the settings in here, and there's a top speed setting. And so I go to my wife and I'm like, hey, have you been this fast in this car? And she was like, no. I was like, well, that's not what the car said. And she was like, that car's a snitch, bro. And I was like, she did not like that. So, you know, if you don't want somebody to see how fast you've been going in one of these cars, you might want to delete that. That could be incriminating or something, you know, and that's not good. But now I will say this, so the power delivery is very, very different from the Mustang. And you know, this is a big V8. It's got a single cam. Everything flows pretty well in this car, but you know, the Mustang has 4 cams. Mustang makes most of its power up top. Like, you know, you get it doesn't really do a whole lot. I almost want to like compare it to VTEC, sort of. You know, as cringy as that is, I almost want to compare it to that, because the Mustang, once you hit like 4,000 RPM, 4,500 RPM, that is where it starts taking off, right? At least with, like, you know, a more stock setup, like, you know, stock manifold, you know, stuff like that, just basic bolt-on stuff. That is really where they like to sing and they make their power. You know, they can rev out to almost 8,000 RPMs. Like mine shifts at like 7,800 at wide open throttle, which is insane for a V8, you know, especially for a cross plane V8. It's not even a flat plane, so that's really impressive to me. But the way that this is, you get a lot more torque down low. You know, the Coyote motors are not super torquey. that's where this has that beat. And I think that's why this car feels so fun to drive, even though it is comparatively a lot slower than the 5.0s are. Let's check this out. So we're redlining at about 5,500. See, that is just so much fun, dude. And that's already at 70, bro. Like, oh God, I need to slow down. Didn't realize the speed limit was that low. But yeah, so that's insane to me. Just, you know, this car moves out very well, but you know, when you compare it to a lot of like the modern V8, you know, like sports cars, which this isn't even technically a sports car. This is a, I mean, this is a freaking sedan. It's a 4-door car. It's big, it's heavy, but you know, Dodge knows what they're doing. They know their audience very well, and they think that everybody, oh God, they think that everybody should have whatever kind of horsepower or whatever kind of feeling car that they want. And I respect the hell out of them for that. You know, Dodge, in my opinion, Dodge is the only one that still makes muscle cars. You know, the Mustang, it's a pony car, you know, this, and same thing with the Camaros, that's a pony car. I don't really consider it a muscle car. In my opinion, a muscle car is a big old car, rear wheel drive with a big honking V8, and they're not super well known for handling. You know, it's made to go fast in a straight line, and that's what they do, and they do it well. And I would definitely consider this more in that space than the Mustang or the Camaro. Now the Mustang and the Camaro, they do it, and they do it faster, but they're also made to go around tracks. You know, like the Z01 is holding records for, you know, not round track, but like Nürburgring type, you know, tracks. And you know, same thing with the GT500, you know, that's what it's doing, you know, and the GTs, you know, that's the reason they made them, you know, independent rear suspension, was to be able to handle corners more and be able to get more involved in the European market. And they took some of the American-ness away from it, you know, away from being an actual sports car. So, I mean, a muscle car, I'm sorry. Let me tell you guys something. A single cam, big old honking V8, they have a certain sound to them that you're not gonna get out of the Mustangs. You know, the Mustangs, they sound, God, this windshield is super dirty. The Mustangs, it's part of their design, but they sound kind of raspy. You know, it's kind of tricky to get them to have that solid, just deep, you know, V8 sound. But you know, I like how the Mustang sounds. But you know, I had a 2-valve Mustang before that, and I loved how it sounded way more. I had like the SLP loudmouths and the, you know, X-pipe and all that good stuff, and it was it sounded phenomenal. And this, you know, the Coyote just doesn't really hold up to that as far as sounds go. Oh my goodness, I hope you can still see. The sun is destroying me right now. Sorry about that. Had to run it through a wash real quick, and please don't jump down my throat. I know drive-through washes are not the best in the world, but I don't have a lot of time, so that's what I did. But anyway, you know, I like this car a lot, and you know, if you're coming from, you know, the Mustang world, or you know, or just Fords in general, you know, if you maybe F-150 or something, you know, I think that you'll like this. You know, if you want more power, you know, that's what the Scats are for. That's what the Hellcats are for. You know, and you know, I mean, Mopar stuff, I will say this, Mopar stuff is expensive for what it is, right? But at the same time, you know, who else is shoving 700 horsepower in cars outside of, like, you know, the GT500 and, you know, things like that, that's relatively affordable? Because, you know, you can buy a used Hellcat for on the low end like 40 grand, you know, maybe 45-ish, you know, and that's not bad, you know. I mean, it obviously depends on your financial situation, but, and that's actually exactly why we got an RT. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I've got all the money in the world, because I definitely don't. But you know, we could have got a Scat, but we wouldn't have been as comfortable as we are with this car. We ended up buying this car for just under 30,000. It's a 2019. It had like 20,000 miles on it. And at the time, like right now is a really weird time when it comes to buying cars, because, you know, if we had bought it maybe, you know, a couple months ago or something like that, we probably could have got it a decent bit cheaper. But as of right now, it's September, say September 3rd, and the used car market right now is super odd. It's a great time to sell your car. It's probably not the best time to buy one, but we ended up being in a situation credit-wise and, you know, financially wise, where, you know, she traded her Veloster that she was super tanked on. She was super upside down on it. And she ended up not being that bad upside down on it now, because, you know, we got her car appraised 2 years ago for $12,000. Okay, and we got it appraised 2 years later with double the miles and more wear and tear, and they gave us $12,500 for it. So if that tells you, you know, how just messed up the car market is right now, that's all you need to know. You know, Carvana is paying a bunch of money for cars right now. But, you know, if you can find a decent deal on one, you know, jump on it, because if you have a trade-in, now is the time to do it. Bruh, move, bruh. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. But yeah, like I said, I recommend it. I like it a lot. It, you know, I mean, it handles like a boat. You know, I'm going around curves right now, and it's, you know, it's definitely, it's got a little bit of body roll to it, you know, but that's not what this particular car is meant to do. It's not meant to go around curves. It's meant to go fun in a straight line. And, you know, my wife, she drives a long way to get to work every day, and so she's mainly on straight roads the whole way anyway, and she has a lot of fun with it. Now, we are going to address, you know, some of the handling concerns. We are going to be, you know, we're going to be dropping it. We're going to do some suspension stuff to it, you know, make it handle a bit better. But I mean, overall, in stock form, like, this car is bone stock except for a couple Flowmasters that we have put on, and it's a great driving experience. I like it a lot. And again, so yeah, overall, 10 out of 10. You know, could it have more power? Yeah, but we knew that going into it, that it was, you know, it was going to be on the slower side of the Dodge lineup. We couldn't have asked for anything better. We like it a lot, and I would recommend, if it's something that you're in the market for, go for it, dude. Seriously, the fuel economy is really pretty good too. I know it says 18.5, but my wife's and me, we don't drive very gingerly, but on the highway, like, it's super easy to get, you know, high 20s in that range. In some ways, it reminds me of my 2-valve, and I loved my 2-valve very much. I don't know if it's just the kind of the power to weight ratio, or, you know, what exactly it is, but I mean, this thing rides way better than my 2-valve ever did. But it gives me the same feeling, you know, like I know it's kind of slow, but it looks good and it sounds good, and I like it. You know, so, you know, don't worry about people trying to shit on you for getting a V6 or not getting a bigger engine or getting a Hellcat or whatever, dude. Like, it's your money. Don't worry about anybody else, because they're not putting money in your pockets. They're not putting food on your table. So ignore them, buy what you want, and have fun with it, you know. And if you're not in a situation to where you can do better, like not do better, but if you're in a situation where, like, say you want an RT, but it's not in your cards right now, your credit's not where it needs to be, you know, you don't have the money right now, you know, it is okay to settle for something less. I spent a long time in the car business, and I'll tell you that right now, sometimes doing that is the best way to get what you want, is by getting something else first. But if you can, you know, if you can hold out and you can save up, or, you know, get your score up, or whatever you got to do, then do it and get what you want. So anyway, guys, once again, Revival GT here. Thanks very much. Please subscribe, like, do all that fun stuff. Y'all have a good day.